I touched on this before, and I'm going to obviously go back to it again for this week's promo of the week. So we talked about Dillon Danis and how he went on the MMA Hour, talked about how he was the highest paid fighter in Bellator and how that drew a lot of attention to him. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off by playing the clip of his interview with Ariel Helwani where he talks about being the highest paid fighter in Bellator. And then I'm going to show a few more clips of some other Bellator fighters and some other MMA media talking about Dillon Danis, who is a 0-0 professional fighter right now. Hasn't won a world championship in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu yet. Obviously, he's won some other big tournaments, but not a world champion. Not a recent Pan American champion from this year. How he's gotten his name out there. How he's in a position now where whenever he does finally fight, there's going to be a lot of attention for him.
I think at the end of the day, they call me the money man. So when the money calls, I picked up.
So they offered you a deal that you couldn't refuse.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking for is the big money. So, and it was just the right timing. I think the CFFC was good, but the money was good. But I think I deserve more than that. So I just went with where the money was.
Are you happy with the Bellator deal?
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I'm excited.
Were you surprised that they came this soon before you've had one amateur or pro fight?
I wasn't surprised. I have a bigger following and a bigger name than probably everybody on the roster. So at the end of the day, I wasn't really surprised about it. It was the right move for them. You could put any of those bums against me, and then they'll get a name. So.
And so, what about the UFC? Given your connection with SBG, they have a good relationship with the UFC. Did you see if there was any interest there? Before signing with Bellator, did you want to see what was the temperature over there as far as you going there?
Yeah, we talked to the UFC. They were, for them, it's hard to sign someone that doesn't have them any fights. But, we were in negotiations. But Bellator came with the money in the beginning. But in the future, we'll see what happens. But at this time, it was just right this time with Bellator, and everything was right. The money was right, and they needed a star. So.
I love the subtle. It's great. It's very. I appreciate it very much. How many fights did you sign for?
4 fights.
4 fights. Could you give us a ballpark, like what this big money? I'm always curious, and I apologize for prying, but what are we talking about here as far as dollars and cents?
I'm the highest paid guy in Bellator now, so that's all I could say.
Is that true? Really?
Yeah, that's what I hear.
All right. Wow. Well, that I'm sure that will ruffle a few feathers.
The venue is big, the platform is big, but with all due respect to Brent, he's not the biggest name. And I know a lot of fans were like, who's Brent Primus? He hasn't fought in a year, and I know that wasn't necessarily his fault. He was supposed to fight in February, opponent got injured, but he just hasn't been active, hasn't been really pushed on the main card. Yeah. Did you know much about him? And regardless, what was your reaction when you found out that he would be your next opponent?
One thing Bellator does a good job of is signing young guys and getting them good fights and building them. And I knew Brent Primus is a guy I was going to fight eventually. Did I think I would be fighting him here at Madison Square Garden, defending the belt against him? No. I think it's definitely a little bit of an interesting matchup for this big of a card. Yeah. But I knew I was going to fight him eventually. I was honestly hoping some kind of super fight was going to materialize. I was asking for, Michael Page, asking for Paul Daly, the Rory McDonald. Obviously, those guys are fighting. You got Lorenz Larkin and all these guys. You got Dillon Danis, who just came over talking all kinds of trash. The guy's a nerd. But, it's one of those things where I'm excited to go out there and compete no matter who it is. And Brent Primus is exactly where I was 5 years ago when I came in like a thief in the night and finished Eddie Alvarez and took his title. So in this sport, when it's a game of inches and it's such a violent, turbulent sport where anything can happen inside that cage, you have to be ready. Brent Primus can beat me just as easy as anybody else in the entire world because it's a fight, and that's what it is, and you have to embrace the uncertainty. So no matter who it is, it's Madison Square Garden, June 24th, and I'm excited to go out there and compete.
I would be remiss if I don't ask you about Dillon Danis. You did retweet his answer to me yesterday on my show. He said that he's the highest paid fighter in Bellator, and you took exception. You don't think that he is telling the truth?
No, absolutely not. And the Conor McGregor shtick is old. Gallagher's trying to do it, and there's only one Conor, man. And give the guy credit where credit is due. Dillon, I liken him bumbling, like Chael was talking about Vanderlei bumbling. He just can't talk, so he doesn't have a mouthpiece on him, so he needs to stick to his lane, and he needs to go out there and hopefully win fights in MMA. He hasn't proven himself yet, but good for him. Good for Bellator for picking him up. We're pretty much the same weight, so when he does prove himself that he actually might be a legitimate fighter, let's do it. But until then, take his little paychecks and keep them in his back pocket and don't act like they're bigger than they actually are. So.
Fair enough. Speaking of which, I mean, you're one of the big free agent signings for Bellator over the past year or so, but Dillon Danis yesterday on my show said that he, in fact, is the highest paid fighter in Bellator, and this has ruffled some feathers. Do you think that this is possible? I mean, we don't know everyone's salary like in your former life in the NFL. Is this possible? Could he be the highest paid fighter in Bellator?
I don't even really know who he is. So, like, if that's the case, I mean, good for him. Like, I'll never hate anybody, but that means I'm going back to the negotiating table.
Does that piss you off hearing that?
No, it's great because that means I'll get more money because somebody I've never heard of is not going to get paid more than me. Right. And on top of that, like, I get paid well. So if he gets paid well, I mean, hell, good job, buddy. But like I said, I don't know who he is.